What's up, YouTube? I'm out in the garage here today. Gonna do something a little bit different. I've been wanting to make a video about suspension on an RC and the added weight effects of the adding aluminum, especially like a billet chassis and shock towers and odds and ends. But one of the things that really spurred this video on for me was this guy right here, my Arrma Italian, my V3 Italian. As you can see, I got quite a bit of billet on here. You know, you can see the M2C chassis and JBIR shock towers. These are the 8mm guys. And one thing I've always struggled with this RC is it's constantly bottoming out. Even with the stock shocks, I did my best to set them up, and I just did not like how it handled. I mean, it'd make a turn and, you know, just bottom out, and the bottom of the chassis was constantly green. I just constantly rubbing on the grass. And I do understand that these chassis take the brunt of a hit when you jump and whatnot, but my thing with suspension, if you're not going to use it, why bother having it, you know? And what I decided to do was last fall buy some eBay shocks. These are 4.5mm shock shafts. These are for Creighton. They listed for the Creighton Outcast Italian, I believe. When I put them on, I left them right as I got them, just right out of the box. I put them on there, and these things they're really tall. I mean, I think they're almost an inch taller than the stock Arrma shocks. And gotta love those dogs. But when I put them on here last fall, it just didn't handle well. It was just so super tall suspension, and you know, being super tall, these things were just, it would tip over so easy. It couldn't handle anything. I mean, I'd go around a corner real slow, and it would just fall over. But so I on and off I played with it. I put the stock shocks back on and did a little bit of bashing with it. Now I know a lot of people don't think the Italian's a basher. As far as I'm concerned, it is. I'm not. I've had a Creighton, I've had an Outcast, and I know people like them, but for me, I did not like them. Not one bit. And that's where I got a lot of these parts from, is dismantling those and building these. But all right, I changed it up to the head cam here so I get a little bit more hands-on. But one thing I want to do, I know this ain't scientific and this ain't perfect, but scale zeroed out, and right now as it sits, just the bare RC at 7.6 pounds. Now, according to Arrma's website, the Italian weighs 9 pounds. Well, if you add a body, I know this is cut out in the center, it's my recording, and then 2 or 4 muddy RC tires, these are the Battleland 3.8s, you're up to about 10.5 pounds. That's a 1.5 pound difference from stock. I know a lot of people don't think that's much and whatnot, but as far as I'm concerned, that's a good amount, you know, and it'll make a difference. And that's the thing. Even like I've said earlier, the stock shocks, I didn't feel it can handle the weight. And I do like the aftermarket chassis. That I want to make it clear, this ain't a chassis war video, and I am not going down that road. And you can see here I got both of them, and I like them both. And but for this, you know, I'm going to do a whole nother video on this Italian here, as far as how these shocks work. But this has been interesting to mess with. The other thing too, I want to say, here I got my Typhon, Trugified Typhon, and according to Arrma, it should be 7 pounds. Now, I don't know if that's measured with if that's a shipping weight, or is that, you know, 04 tires and body or whatever. And well, right now it just, as it sits, it's 7.9 pounds. Now that's almost a pound heavier. You add, you know, here I don't have a body readily available, but I'll just take these, set them up here, and you take 4 muddy RC tires, now you're up to 9.75 pounds. You know, that's quite a difference. I mean, that's 2.75 pounds heavier than a stock Typhon. And one thing I did do with this Trugified Typhon is I put Creighton or Outcast shocks on these. There's 2000 CST, and I put orange springs on these, I believe. Yeah, and that really made a difference. I do like how this handles now, and did replace the pistons in here. I put different pistons in here with smaller holes, front and rear. I know they're mixed and match, I believe, from the factory, but I put smaller holes front and rear in this, and then it's 2000 CST. And right, the other one I want to get into is, this is my original Typhon. I did a video of this the other day, and I had mentioned something about the M2C Racing shock caps on here. Now, I do have them on here. I really don't see much of a difference at all with them. I know I said that in the video. I'm not hating on M2C or anything like that. I don't want anybody to take me that way, but I just didn't see much of a difference. And if you do see, if you do watch a video, you can see this thing bounce pretty hard. I know I do a lot of flat landings. 99% of my landings are flat. I don't have a downside ramp to land on, but I'm considering making one for this year. But this one doesn't have much aluminum. I got the Voltage Hobbies and tower supports or chassis supports, and then the wing support here. I do have Hot Racing front and rear differentials, and suspension mounts front and rear, or just on the rear, and I have one right here. But this one I'm going to keep light. I do have a M2C chassis, a spare chassis I had on an Outcast that I dismantled. Been on the fence about putting it on this one. This has been pretty good for me as it sits. I do want something close to stock that is pretty fast. You know, you can see right now it's 6.91 pounds. I mean, that's almost 7 pounds to what the stock Typhon weighs. Now we got 4 muddy 8th scale buggy wheels. You put these up here, you know, now we're up at 8 pounds. You know, it does make a difference. You know, I really feel it does. On this one, I have get this fuzz out of here. I have yellow Techno springs on here, and I believe it's 55 weight shock oil, and this thing is just it's perfect. I for some reason on this one I got it right, but it's one of the last things I wanted to touch base on. I do get a little particular about setting up my suspensions on these RCs. I never really made a video about doing anything like this. I kind of just did it, and I just bash videos, and I never really wanted to do any kind of how-to videos or tips or tricks videos, but I guess. But adding the weight, personally, I noticed a difference when I've driven all these when I first got them right out of the box. You know, I never shimmed the differentials and in the beginning, you know, and I never messed with the shocks. And you know, once things start breaking, you know, as does a lot of other people, you know, you start adding pieces and parts. You start adding aluminum, and you know, I really don't care. I don't think it matters at all what company you buy aluminum parts from. I really don't. I don't matter who's lighter, who's heavier. It doesn't matter. You know, you want to buy an aluminum pieces and parts for your RC, you know, you got to keep in mind you're adding weight. You start driving it after a while, you might just get used to it, and you know, things might break after, you know, jumping and landing things, and you know, it might get frustrating. Well, you know, if you take a little bit of time and set some suspension up and just play with it, you know, it's not really hard. One of the things I also did to make my life a little bit easier as far as draining shock oil is I took a 2x4 and a speedboard bit, and I cut the holes out of put 4 holes in a 2x4, and that's how I drain the shock oil. And I put it upside down on a little butter tub or some kind of plastic container, and drain the shock oil out. You know, you kind of got to find ways to, you know, come up to make your life a little bit easier. Instead of spending all the money on all this aftermarket stuff, spend the money on setting up your RC. I have been a pretty big proponent of that. I know I don't preach much about that in my videos, but you know, here lately, especially with my Talion being as heavy as it is, and I do love the fact that my Talion's a speed run vehicle, and or can be a speed runner and a basher. I really like the fact that it's a basher, but that's gonna be a whole nother video for that, you know. But that's going to be about it for my suspension chit chat. You know, when you buy a brand new Arrma, you know, you get several different you know, shock pistons in there. You know, I strongly advise you to use them, take them apart, get some different oil. You know, one of the other things I have is to make my life easier is a tool, a Techno shock tool, I think it is. Yeah, I believe it's a Techno Shock tool. I don't have that out here, but I made my life a heck of a lot easier, loosening and tightening the shock caps, especially with the shock shafts and whatnot. That's going to be it for now. Like I said, watch out for my next video about my Italian as far as my eBay shocks go. But if you have any other questions or about setting anything up, or any kind of shock questions or oil questions, hit me up. Write a comment and or send me a private message. I'd be willing to give somebody some info. I'm by no means an expert. I do have been bashing these for about 2 years, and I've had my setups on these for about a year and a half of those 2 years or so, and I really enjoy it. So I appreciate everybody for watching. Hope you guys pick something up from this video, and we'll see you next time.